Hi everybody, welcome to the South Australian Sports Show. Lots to get through in the next hour and it's all going to be South Australian sport. We're going to talk AFL, SANFL, we're going to talk about netball, the Thunderbirds. Oh dear, what's happened to the Thunderbirds? The Lightning, can they survive another season? The CEO from hockey, Andrew Ellis, is going to join us. Hugh Purvis, the high performance manager, in as well. We've got the Bowls CEO, Mark Easton, in. Dizzy Gillespie, will he get the English coaching job? I suspect that he's going to. David Mackay's coming into the studio. He was a star, very young in his career at Carlton, came over, played with West Torrens, finished here. Life after footy, what happens after sport? Dave's going to join us and have a chat about that. We want to have a chat about Kane Cornes, his 300th game, of course, coming up this Sunday. And itching to get into these issues, my co-host Rob Popplestone. Poppy, how are you?
Mate, I'm on top of the world. Thanks for asking. You're itching. I'm willing to scratch. There's a lot going on. But you know what? Just in your intro there, you mentioned Dave Mackay being a star of Carlton. Now, I know Dave Mackay.
Well, he told me he was a star.
Was there another Dave Mackay? Was there another one?
Well, I think in fairness to Dave,
he wasn't too bad.
He was touted at a very early age. He did some amazing things when Carlton signed him to a Form 4.
Yes.
Then they sent him over to play with Torrens. He actually went to Tasmania and played as well. We'll have a chat with him about that when he comes in.
And there was two Dave Mackays at Carlton too.
There were two.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
the other one was an absolute legend.
He was a good.
He was a good one. This one not so good, but he's to South Australia now, so we'll have a chat with him. Let's talk about the AFL. Lots happening, of course. Big talk over the weekend. What happened to the Power v Brisbane? No one expected it. Been a lot of talk so far. The problems in the midfield. Today, I hear that Michael Voss is now the problem. Of course, Phil Walsh, currently the head coach at the Adelaide Crows, the master of the midfield last year. Voss is in. Midfield's not functioning. Now they're looking to blame someone, and Voss is wearing a bit.
Yeah, and I think that's commonplace, isn't it? When you're wanting to identify the problem and you just can't put a finger on it, let's put a finger on a person and let them discover the problem. You know, it was amazing. 5 weeks in, they were 3 wins from 5, and we thought that was okay because they'd had a win against Hawthorn. They'd won against the Crows. They were serviceable against Fremantle round 1. We thought they were about where they should be. We looked at the next 7 rounds a fortnight ago and thought, they can win the next 7. They can win the next 7. They'll be on top halfway through the year. Well, a fortnight's passed and they've lost 2, and we're wondering whether they can make the 8. So, you know, you say a week's a long time in football, a fortnight's an eternity. This weekend, though, is crucial. Obviously, they need a win. Kane Cornes plays his 300th. I know we'll touch on that later. They're coming up against Richmond, who themselves are coming off a win against Collingwood. No easy beats, but they must win this weekend.
All right, if they don't win this weekend, is it a season-defining game?
Well, if they don't win this weekend, they have to win the week after. But, no, look...
you've done your sums. No. You said before we came on they needed 12 or 13 wins to be a finals chance.
Well, they're 3 from 7. If they don't win this weekend, they're 3 from 8. That means they need to win somewhere like 9 games minimum from the remaining, say, 15. Now, that creates a fair bit of pressure, both obvious and implied pressure for the Crows, and for the Power. And I'm not sure that they've handled the pressure so well this year. You know what I've loved about them? I've loved that they've come out from round 1 and said, you know what? We're expected to finish top 4. We're expecting to finish top 4. They haven't played the let's just take it 1 week at a time card. They've been very refreshing in their honest approach, but that honesty, I think, has caused them some problems on the way because they haven't performed anywhere near as well as we thought they might and as well as they thought they might. We got told, they expected, Pat Ryder was the missing link. He was the difference between playing off in a preliminary final, which they did last year, and going that one step further. Well, to my eye, they've taken a couple of steps back. They need to go forward pretty quickly.
Gee, it's easy to sit on the outside and throw some stones.
I'm a genius here.
No doubt about it, and we all are, but Ken Hinkley to come out and say it's the worst game he's coached in his time here, and he's really honest. The players like that about him. You say Ryder was the missing piece.
Yeah.
Style of game. Look, I reckon what's happened last year is all the teams have looked at Port Adelaide and gone, really like the style of game they're playing. The fans love it. The sponsors love it. It's really entertaining. We need to take some of that into our game.
And they are.
And they've added that. Then the second component is that they've now scouted that. So now they're forcing the Power to play around the boundary line. That straight down the middle has gone. The other thing that it looks like happening, and it's an observation, is that last year they were attacking through the middle and they were short and direct. Now they've got Ryder, now they've got Schultz, now they've got Westhoff. Almost looks like they're bombing it in there because they've got height. Now, we may be not giving the other teams enough credit for the way they're playing them, but that looks like what's happening. And then Ollie Wines has not been there. And I know he's only a 20-year-old, but he is dynamic in the midfield. Not that Boak and Gray haven't been, but he looks like coming back this weekend. Now, I want to ask you about that. He dislocated his wrist in round 3.
Yes.
He was a 50-50 chance to play last week. It's hard to imagine he's 100% 5 days, 6 days later.
No.
Are they bringing him back in because the button's getting a little bit panic pressure?
Yeah, look, the pressure is on. And, you know, as a player, there's not too many times that you run over that white line and feeling 100%. There's not too many times. So you learn to play with either pain or pressure, and normally both. He's the sort of player that can do it. There's no question about that. What worries me, though, for Port Adelaide in the last couple of weeks is that it's obvious that opposition teams are actually priming themselves, absolutely priming themselves for a good performance because of them being seen as a benchmark. You saw Simpson a fortnight ago say, that was the best win of my coaching career.
Yep.
Guess what? A week later, Lepic says, that was the best win of my career because there was an expectation. You beat them, you're on track. And your observations are brilliant about the way sides are coming to town to play Port Adelaide. They're bringing a Port Adelaide game style against Port Adelaide. Now it's up to Port Adelaide to adapt to that, and I think Hinkley's got the plan, but the players aren't executing it. I'm loving the way he's been calm under pressure, and that will eventually rub off on the players, but it needs to rub off on the players sooner rather than later. There's no question.
I suspect this weekend that it's going to be a 50-point plus win to Port.
I suspected it was going to be 70 plus last week.
Well, no, for a couple of reasons. And I agree with that. I think everybody thought that, but I reckon Ken's been saying to the players, and he's been open with all of us, that we're not playing as well as we can, but they're getting some wins. As a player, you know, if you're getting those wins, we're still going all right because we're winning.
Yes.
Suddenly you get beaten by someone you couldn't, and then attention to detail is really now attention to detail.
Yeah.
I suspect they're embarrassed by what's happened. So they're going to rebound like all elite athletes do out of that. Kane Cornes, let's talk about him. His 300th game. If those two factors alone aren't enough to get you going, if Port can't get a win in this game, I think their season's done.
Well,
I know it's early to say that, but they are two big reasons. The pride of being embarrassed, if that can't get you on its own to get up and going, you're in trouble. But then you throw in a 300 gamer, that's the icing on the cake. If you can't get up for that, I can't see how you're going to get up.
We'll see how much respect they've actually got for Kane Cornes as a player. We'll see how much respect they've got for themselves as performers. We'll see how much respect they've got for Ken Hinkley as a coach, because all of those things, all of those questions are being asked of those players and or people this week. You're spot on. And as much as you don't want to give the season away because mathematically they can always get on a run, the fact is you're right. If they can't get up for Kane Cornes' 300th, if they can't get up for their own performance and for that of the coach, then how can they turn it around when they want to in a fortnight's time, let alone this week against the Tigers?
All right, last one, then we'll move on to the Crows. Kane's come into a bit of criticism. Tony Shaw, Matty Lloyd fired a couple of shots over the bow saying that, you know, they thought he was doing the wrong thing by the club. I mean, 300 games. I think you've got to know Kane to understand where he's coming from. Firstly, he never felt like he belonged. He always was fearful of that moment that his career was coming to an end. Yes, he's got a job to go to in the Fireys. They're looking at that saying, well, he's left the Power at a time that they need him to go to the Fireys. No one poked the stick at Darren Glass last year. 270 games for West Coast. They're playing in Launceston. Arrives back in Perth and says, that's it, I'm done. Now, they tried to get him to play another game as a farewell. He said, no, I haven't got anything left in me. That was all okay. But because Kane's got a job to go to, I don't know about that. I think Kane has made a fantastic decision for himself and a great decision for the club. And the club's handled it brilliantly, and he's made the best decision for him and his family for the rest of his life.
Look, no question about that. I don't think you can question the integrity of the man, Kane Cornes.
Agreed.
I don't think you can question the intention of the club to develop a culture to respect those players that are given so much over such a long period of time. I think the question comes into play when the side doesn't perform coincidentally the same week that he announces his retirement. I'm sure it's a huge coincidence. I'm sure it is. And also, I guess you do question, a player says, I'm done, I've had enough in a couple of weeks' time. Can I have my 300th? Now, he will get his 300th, given that he'll get through training this week. He'll get his 300th. But what happens if, against Brisbane, he injured a hamstring at 299? Is that it? Does he wait an extra week? Does he wait 2? Do the Fire Brigade give him an extra week, given the enormity of the occasion, 300? I don't know. I mean, we can chuck out a million hypotheticals, and I just have. But the fact is, the fact is, he's a decent bloke. He deserves to be showcased for his contribution not only to footy for Port Adelaide but to the AFL. I think he's been great.
Yeah, look, I reckon it's refreshing that a player goes when he's ready, as opposed to the coaches having a heartache to tell him. So good on Kane. I say well done. done. Now, what about the Crows, of course? Tragic news about Matty Inch. Had to have that knee reconstruction. Tweeted yesterday, 365 days to our next game. So he's up and about and positive about it already. So from that point of view, he's good. Their game against St Kilda, how did you see it?
Oh, look, it was they won. You know, they won. But I think sometimes winning masks some deficiencies. And, you know, whereas we just finished talking about Port Adelaide, Hinkley identified problems while they were winning prior to them having problems. I think the Crows have still got some issues, none more so than the injuries that they've got. You know, they've got some good players on the sidelines. Their depth's going to be tested, no question. If you look at the stats, and sometimes it's dangerous to do that, but if you look at their stats, there are some deficiencies, mainly in ball skills, execution, that Walsh has identified. You know, they're well placed to trial and to improve their performances. 5 from 7 is about where we thought they might be, given the draw they've got. Their next 3 games are crucial to get 2 of them.
All right, Brodie Smith, head clash with Nick Riewoldt. He's not going to play this weekend because it's his second concussion.
Yes.
I want to ask you this seriously. Is there any reason that Riewoldt wasn't cited for a head-high clash? So the AFL's come out and said we're
So you're saying
protecting
a headbutt?
Well, he went in to tackle Brodie Smith, no doubt about it, and he was going to take Brodie Smith down. The force of the tackle caused him to hit his head back, and he made contact with Brodie Smith. Now, we're grateful that neither of them are injured. It was fantastic from that point of view. But
well, they were both injured, though. They were both in...
Well,
I mean, I guess
why isn't Riewoldt reported? Oh, it wasn't a bump, it wasn't this. He made head-high contact. Unfortunately, it was an accident, but he still made it. Well, I never heard them say we had to cite it and we've ticked off on it. It was just all forgotten.
Technically, you're probably right, actually. I mean, I haven't thought about it like that until you've just mentioned it. But technically, you're probably right. I mean, it was head-high contact. Accidents... So what? How many times do you make accidental contact with a player and either it's a free kick? The excuse that it was an accident doesn't roll a dice at all. So technically, you're right. I haven't thought about it.
All right, we've only got a couple
That's what I like about you, though. You come up with these left-wing
We've got to
ideas.
get through this quickly. GWS away, big game. GWS, they've surprised a lot of people.
Well, they're like the Crows, 5 from 7. They've also taken some big scalps on the way, none bigger than Hawthorn, which was probably their season-defining moment so early. And they believe in themselves. They're playing to a home crowd. They've got every reason to believe they can beat the Crows. And as much as GWS need to win this, so do the Adelaide Crows. Because after GWS, Crows take on a side that's in pretty good form called Fremantle. You need this one under the belt. GWS also need it under the belt. Good test for both sides. Really good test.
All right, then Carlton after that, so we'll give them that win.
Oh, that's
all right,
a win.
Let's turn our attention to netball. The Adelaide Thunderbirds played on the weekend, last weekend, Adelaide Arena.
They've been
horrible.
horrible.
6,000 people, lost to the Firebirds. Completely out of the finals race now.
Horrible.
Where do they go? I mean, sometimes when you're a lower profile sport, no disrespect to netball and the Thunderbirds, but they are, you can kind of get away with that season after season, but it's just been ugly.
It has been ugly, and I think, you know, Jane Woodlands saw the writing on the wall to her, and I praise her for that. Midway through the year, she put the hand up and said, listen, I can't give any more. They're not responding. She wasn't so transparent as that, but it was obvious they weren't responding to her game. It needs, every environment, workplace or sporting environment, needs a refresh. They've now got the opportunity for it. They need something new, and they're going to get it.
All right, the Adelaide Quit Lightning, of course, they've had an extension on there, $150,000 to remain in the Women's National Basketball League next season. Looks like they're going to get it. My concern is, where does it go after that? At the end of next year, are they facing the same thing? And eventually, you can't continue to go to the same well and it falls over.
I think that, you know, in so much as I don't think the government should be laying the foundation for a lot of things. They waste a lot of money. But the fact is this, Quit Lightning gives a beautiful platform for women's basketball in this state, and it gives them a goal for aspiring junior athletes to aim for. So we need Quit Lightning. It isn't a matter of fact if or should we or can we just must. So whether it's government or other money, we need to provide them a goal for junior netball, junior basketball. So yes, it must happen.
Must happen. All right, Dizzy Gillespie meets with Andrew Strauss. My information tells me this week. Of course, we're talking about the English coaching job.
Yes.
He's done a fantastic job at Yorkshire. He is the man. They've said whatever he wants, he can have. They're almost saying, you will run the program. Will Dizzy take the job?
He'll take the job. And it's
so Dizzy v Buff Lehman
in the upcoming Ashes series. And you know what? But what happens?
Great South Australians.
What happens with the strikers job? What happens with that?
He'll still do the strikers.
He's going to come back and play for. Okay. Well, that's okay as long as we've got him in our state, which is fantastic. Great opportunity, and what a great endorsement, really, given that the way South Australian cricket is at the moment, that two players like Gillespie and also Lehmann are good performers on a world stage.
All right, stay with us. Still plenty to come on the show. We need to get to a break. Back with more in a moment.
Need to sell your car? Tried the internet and don't want strangers at your house? Give it to us, Carnet Auctions Adelaide, and if we don't sell it for you, we won't charge you a thing. Visit our website, caa.com.au, and ask for Darren. He will sell your car the easy way. No sale, no charge. Carnet Auctions, Grand Junction Road, Athol Park.
Sports Centre is South Australia's leading lawn bowls apparel supplier. With over 40 years' experience in designing, manufacturing and supplying sporting apparel, we have revitalised the look of tired and aged clubs and made them progressive, vibrant and the envy of other clubs. Sports Centre creates original designs to suit your club, and we supply a full range of bowls apparel that will ensure your club looks its best. Whether you need polos, vests, all weather jackets, long or short pants, socks and caps, we have it all, so you won't need to travel far and wide across the city. Sports Centre is your one-stop bowls apparel specialist outlet.